Good evening, Mark here from Exel on a sweltering hot Perthshire evening. Not really the evening for tasting quite dense, structured red wine, but you've got a wine to taste, you've got to taste it. And the wine on taste this evening is one that featured very well in an article on Cabernet Sauvignon in South Africa in the most recent decanter. It is Stark-Conde's Cabernet Sauvignon from 2017 from Stellenbosch. No great surprises from Stellenbosch. There are other great areas within South Africa for Cab Sauv, but Stellenbosch is still top of the pile, you'd have to say. And I wasn't sure what to expect with this one. I've not always got on particularly well with Cabernet Sauvignon when it's a pure varietal wine, which this almost is. More of that in a second. And I've not got on particularly well with some Cabernet Sauvignons from Stellenbosch and from South Africa in general. I think you do hit this thing on two problems I often have with quite high concentrations of Cabernet Sauvignon. One is the herbaceous problem, when everything can taste a bit minty, eucalyptusy, a bit green, black currant leaf. And while that's attractive in small amounts, when it's quite a dense flavour like that, it can really create a rather green wine, which is quite hard. And the other is the so-called infamous hole in the mid-palate that you get with Cabernet Sauvignon, which is it's got great structure, great tannins, great acidity. You've got a great structure to the wine, but then it somehow can quite often lack fruit. And this is a real reason why Cabernet Sauvignon is often blended with fruitier wines like Merlot, particularly in Bordeaux, often blended with Syrah in Australia, various other things, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, a whole raft of other wines over time. And it can leave this kind of rather empty feeling to the wine. Great structure, no fruit. And you can get around that with blending, or you can get around it by making sure you've got really good Cabernet Sauvignon in the first place. Well, this one, it's 85% Cabernet Sauvignon, which under the various rulings of how you can label wine mean you can call this a pure Cabernet Sauvignon, but it isn't. 85% Cab Sauv, and then it's got some Petit Verdot in, I think about 7%. You've then got a bit of Petit Shiraz, also known as Girif, and there's a few other bits and bobs in there as well. It's good. The thing is, it's good. You'd expect it to be 96 points in decanter. It's not going to be tad, is it? And it certainly isn't. It certainly smells like a Cabernet Sauvignon, although it's less blackcurranty on the nose. I'd say there's a bit more red fruit kicking around, a bit more plum and damson, a little bit, possibly even raspberry there. It's not pure black density. On the palate, the acidity is quite powerful, and the tannins are quite powerful. I love all the big Italian wines. I'm not going to pretend for a second this has got anything Italian about it, but the structure, the tannins, the acidity of that, they crackle a bit. It's a 3-year-old wine. It'll drink now. It definitely drinks now if you like that acidity, you like that tannin. Probably a couple of years now, that'll have settled down and melded rather better. It's the oaking is done extremely well, I think. It has this delicious vanilla aftertaste, which is, indicates quite a lot of oak, but it's been done well. It's subtly done. It makes it very delicious, and that oak is in balance with the quantity of fruit in there. You don't put enough oak on that fruit, the fruit can really stand out, vice versa. It's in perfect balance. I think the term that Decanter used in their review was seamless. I'd say that seamless is not far wrong. Everything is in very, very fine balance there. And I would have to say at £19.95, it's a pretty stunning Cabernet Sauvignon. Obviously it's not a Bordeaux, but then it's not trying to be a Bordeaux. I think you will find New World Cabernet Sauvignons, particularly say from Coonawarra in Australia, some of the Argentine Cab Sauv from some of the prestigious producers in Argentina, that will cost you considerably more than this, and certainly some of its South African rivals are considerably more expensive. This is fab. Very difficult not to like it. Drink it now, keep it. It's great with food. It's I shall finish the bottle. Have a good evening.